So, hi, thanks for tuning in to Car Musings. I'm your host, Matt Morgan. Thanks to everybody showing up today. This is kind of like a spur of the moment type thing. I just want to share it with you guys. Anyways, I'm your host, Matt Morgan. Thanks for tuning in. Please check out themadmorgan.com for more information on our shows and me and everything else. Today, I want to talk about the fact that, today I have resigned from my business venture in the insurance game, which is fun. Um, it's amazing how many people are ignorant to not understand the importance of insurance because there's living insurance and then there's not living insurance and everything else. And a lot of people just don't realize that. And I think it's like when it comes to a lot of different things, people are just set in what they know, and that's what I want to discuss about today. If you don't know 100% about something, don't automatically assume that you do, because the reality is that you might be missing out on opportunities that could be very beneficial to you. Not everybody that's a salesman is a crook. You know, these preconceptions you have when it comes to certain things like insurance are not always how you think they are in black and white. They could very much be something that's completely different if you have an open mind and actually think about it and ask questions about it and research about it. So I guess my point today is it's kind of a bittersweet thing. Um, I found out I saw some true colors of people, which kind of sucks because it's people that I frankly was hoping was going to be a little more, I don't know, supportive when it came to my business venture and new ventures, new things I tried to do. Unfortunately, they weren't. Unfortunately, you know, people let you down. And you can't really let that discourage you. Some people just don't have the balls to come out and tell you exactly how they feel or how they think. Mind you, the people that do not screw around and waste your time and give you a whole bunch of blowing sunshine up your ass, those are the people I do appreciate. Because I love it when people are completely blunt with me. They gain such a level of respect. My point is that the world's tough out there. People don't realize how hard some people's jobs are, or trying to make a living is, especially when they're trying to live an honest, productive life. Actually trying to do something with integrity, trying to do something that is righteous. And it's a shame that people fall for the quick buck and fall for the gimmick and they fall for all this other BS. And when they fall for those scams, they're a little more untrustworthy when that honest person comes along and tries to actually help them out with something. And it's just, it's like, grr. I really didn't expect to be unemployed at the point I am in my life. It sucks. It does. I got responsibilities at this point, like most people do. But when you get older, companies look at you differently and they're like, oh, you're old. Well, we're not only going to get so much life out of you, or this or that. Oh, wait, you know the world too well. You know how the game works. You know this, you know that. Well, we don't want to hire you because we want you to be blinded and not knowledgeable and not experienced. We want you to be naive when it comes to a lot of things so we can basically push you around. They don't want to keep the older folks on payroll because the older folks on payroll know what the game is. We have the knowledge that the young don't have. We have that experience. As much as everybody figures when they're young that they have it figured out, you don't know a friggin' 1/10 of what you're going to know as the years go on. So, what's my point here? People are like, Mad Morgan, what is your point? Well, my point is this. It's pretty tough out there right now for a lot of people. If you're in a hiring opportunity, if you're in a position where you could give somebody a job, really forget about all these conditions that the government's putting on companies for hiring people. It's a bunch of bullshit. Hire the most experienced, knowledgeable people you possibly can because that makes sense for any business. I'd rather have somebody with years of knowledge and experience than some punk kid that just graduated from college or university. I understand the fresh perspective is nice and all, but it's going to take a good 5 years in order to bring them up to a fraction of somebody that has 30 years experience. Give the older folks some sense of pride, some sense of dignity. If you can give them a job, give them a job. Like, I'm not just trying to be self-serving for myself. It makes perfect sense. It really does. To hire experience versus hiring, you know, fresh faces. And try to keep it try to keep it for those people that are kind of struggling when it comes to actually getting jobs. Don't base it on sex. Don't base it on race. Don't base it on origins. Don't base it on culture. Don't base it on any bullshit like that. Go with the most qualified candidate and the most experienced, and that makes sense. I'm not trying to be self-serving, but there's a bunch of people I know that are trained professionals with a whole smorgasbord of ability and talent and skills that frankly are unemployed. Why are they unemployed? It doesn't make sense. Why these people are unemployed when they are highly skilled, highly talented, like trade professional, and they're unemployed because of stupid conditions and standards and inclusivity and all this crap like that. I can't believe that there's a bias against inclusivity, for all these other aspects, of a different origin or culture or background or sexual preference. It's absolutely stupid there was a bias in the first place. But if you're going to tell me that I have to identify as a gay black man who has a disability and a limp, I don't know. If that's the only way I'm going to get a job, that's pretty freaking pathetic. I should get jobs based on my experience, my knowledge. I should get jobs based on more than all these superficial type conditions. It's just kind of stupid. So, anyways, today I resigned, which is odd because I resigned from a business that was supposed to be my business, but supposedly I'm supposed to resign from that. And I'll tell you, not to give out names and everything else because I won't, but the leader who ran this division of the company that was kind of sponsoring my business was just amazing. Just a leader of people. Not a boss, not a manager, but a leader. And I've met so few leaders over my years. This man was such a leader. Like, you walk in the room, or he walks in the room, and you see this person, and you're just like, wow, you are just majestic. You're like royalty. It's crazy. So I'm privileged to have actually had the time to be under his command, so to speak. So it's kind of a bittersweet experience. But now I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna get out of this monkey suit. By the way, a monkey suit is not a racist term. It's basically referring to a suit and tie and everything else. So, relax. I've seen a lot of people lately on social media jumping down my throat when I start mentioning stuff, and automatically, because you mentioned some culture or some people, that you're automatically racist, although it's not anything that you're throwing shade on, you know. But they automatically want to jump to the racist card because it makes them feel good. Whatever. I don't care. It is what it is. If that's the only go-to you have, then, it is what it is. It's stupid that people do that. It really is stupid that people do that. Jump to that race card. You know. Anyways, back to this. There's a lot of few jobs out there, and the jobs that are being eaten up is because rich money is coming into North American society, and they're actually buying businesses, and then they're completely employing them with completely incapable employees from their countries. People that aren't even qualified, but because you have that particular background, oh, well, you have a job. Stupid. So it really is limiting, especially with people that are trying to make ends meet, people that are trying to pay the bills, have a mortgage, have kids, have families, have all this stuff like that, and they're trying to make ends meet, and then these people come from elsewhere, and I'm not trying to, start going on about how racist and this and that and everything else. Like, I'm not trying to go over all of that part. I don't want to open up that can of worms. But the thing is that, let's just be honest. Countries are countries, and countries should look out for their own people, right? And if countries are not looking out for their own people and let other people come in and take those opportunities from their own citizens, I think that's pretty shitty. And I'm not too happy with, like, Canada in that regards. And as much as it irks me to say it, I actually do applaud Mr. Trump, as I call him, for what he's doing to look out for the American citizen. So I do have to applaud him for that. It's probably the only thing he's doing right. He's not going about it the right way because he's kicking people out that frankly should be in the country, but he's still making that effort to look out for the Americans, and that's fine, and I appreciate him. I wish Canada do that, more of that, because in all honesty, our immigration process is flawed. We let a lot of people in, undesirables, a lot of people that shouldn't have been in Canada, to fly under the radar and get in. So that's a little annoying because it really, really hampers opportunities for those law-abiding citizens that actually are trying to make ends meet and, survive in today's world. So, you know, we got to look out for each other. And I'm not promoting violence, and I'm not promoting hate. I'm not trying to promote any of that. Other people are coming to places like Canada, and they're only looking out for themselves and for people from where they originate from. So that's what they're doing. They're looking out for themselves and their own interests. They don't care about where they're going. They want to change wherever they're going because it's something that they are used to, something that they are familiar with, right? So they want to be in their comfort zone, so they want to actually, you know, move to Canada, buy places, change the culture, change the laws, change all that stuff, and do what they can to convenience themselves without forethought of, I don't care about everybody else. What matters to them, the fact that it's their country, the fact that it's their culture, the fact that it is something that they're used to. They're just thinking about their own selfish selves. And I'm sorry, but Canada and politicians and everything else should do the same thing for the Canadian citizen. Protect our Canadian ways. Protect any country's ways that were the way we're used to doing stuff. Because I don't want to be India and the problems they have there. I don't want to be the friggin' Middle East and the problems they have there. I don't want to have that kind of bullshit. That's not who my country is and the ways that we go about doing stuff. So if people come from other places and try to change that, that's an invasion, in my opinion. And that's something that should definitely be addressed, because it is an invasion. It is an invasion of, thank you, it is an invasion of the culture, it's an invasion of the country, it is an invasion that frankly should be considered a hostile threat, in my opinion. If people want a better life to come to another country, then great, assimilate to that country. Embrace that country. Go by the ways of that country. It's not where you're from. You're moving for a better life. Don't make the problems of your country come to our country. Because the whole point of you coming to our country is for a better life. So don't screw it up. All right? And hire Canadians. What, you thinking that people aren't getting jobs because of the tans that they have or their origins or where they're from? That's bullshit. And if there are people that are not hiring people because of that, then that's bullshit. Okay? That's the fault of those business owners or those organizations. Okay? That's a whole different can of worms. Maybe those people aren't qualified to have a job. Maybe they don't have the professionalism or work ethic to have those jobs. Maybe they shouldn't have those jobs. If you're automatically assuming that they don't have those jobs because of their color of the skin or the way that they speak and everything else, color skin I really doubt. But the way they speak, if they can't formulate the official languages, okay, I can see why they're not offered a job. Because they're rude, because they have no work ethic or professionalism, yeah, I can see why they don't have a job. That's something that those people have to work on. They have to improve their own skills in order to be a valid candidate for certain jobs. So, for people to come to a country, buy a business, hire all the people based on ethnicity or whatever you want to frickin' call it, but these people don't have any skills or professionalism or work ethic, well, if your business fails, you got to start looking at why your business fails. And it's not racism, it's because you hired incompetent staff. And that's the same reason these people didn't get jobs beforehand. Because people want to buy or are used to going to where they're used to going because of the people that they're used to dealing with. I have hung up on people if I can't understand them because as a client or a customer, I want to be able to communicate with whoever I'm contacting for money that I'm paying into something for. It has nothing to do with anything else. And for those of you that have been listening to me for a while, you know for a fact that basically I am biased and don't like somebody based on how big of an asshole they are. I don't care your how good of a tan you have, the language you speak, your culture, your customs. I don't care about all that crap. That's irrelevant to me. I don't like you based on how big of an asshole you are. That's simple as that. You're an asshole, I don't want nothing to do with you. I'm not going to give you opportunities. I'm not going to give you the time of day. But if you're respectful and decent and professional and courteous and a good person and a good productive member of society, hell yeah. I'll have a beer with you, sit down and shoot the shit. That's perfectly fine with me. Just want to make sure we clear the air on that. Anyways, the reality is it's a tough market out there. And if you don't give people meaningful employment, an opportunity to pay the bills and pay the rents, and keep afloat and survive, those people will push back. There will be riots. There will be revolts. There will be people in every country because they are expecting their governments to protect them and provide for them. Now, I'm not talking to people that come from elsewhere and come to these countries and want handouts and freebies. I'm talking about people that have been paying into the taxation system, that pay the politicians' salaries, and actually pay to keep everything up to this point for the last 20, 30, whatever years. These are the people that should be your long-term customers and clients that you should be catering to. The people that gave more than they got. Because eventually they will revolt and they will cry out over this because it's a bunch of bullshit. I'm at that point. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. I've been paying into the system for 40 years easily. And where is my safety net? Where's my protection? Who's looking out for me with all the thousands of frickin' taxes I pay each year, which I'm getting squat for, but you still expect me to pay for what? It doesn't make sense. I'm not one to fight over those petty things, but I'm getting to a little point of the boiling point, which I'm pretty sure a lot of other, in this particular case, Canadians are, because we're tired of this bullshit. We're tired of dealing with this errors being made and being, people from elsewhere that are bringing problems to our friendly nation and causing crime and causing issues and causing unrest and, causing unrest, and we're having to to pay the brunt of it, although we're law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. I don't understand how that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It's completely illogical. So somebody better do something. In the short term, though, if you have means, if you own a business or a company or any sort of organization or anything that can actually employ people, and we're not talking by you know, the terms and conditions that the government's been putting forward, of hiring minorities and hiring disability and all that bullshit. I'm sorry, but that's a bunch of bullshit at this point because it's a little too much where everybody else is getting the perks. Everybody else is getting the perks, and the Canadians that were born and raised here are having to suffer because of it. Like it's kind of bullshit. It really is, and it is getting to a boiling point. And I hope some politicians in Canada are actually listening, because it is getting to a boiling point. You are going to have civil unrest, and guess what? It's your own fucking fault. So you better start thinking about that one. It is your own fucking fault. You are at fault for this. Just like I've always said in my videos and my other podcasts, it is a domino effect, my friends. It is a domino effect. One does affect the other. And don't think you're freaking can get away with not affecting everything else. You are part of the problem if you're not part of the solution. So be part of the solution. Again, if you own a business can hire older people, do it. If you can hire without all these stupid conditions, do it. And as far as the government goes, you better start making employment or making some source of income, because you're screwing around with a generation. Anybody in their late 40s to late 50s, you're screwing around with a generation that was raised on hardship, and we know how to survive. We know how to push back. So you might want to consider that. You're not dealing with the pansy friggin' generations like Gen Zs or whatever. You're dealing with friggin' a hardcore Gen X's, and we don't screw around. And we're getting a little sick and tired of this bullshit, so keep that in mind. Anyways, that's my rant for today. I had to speak out on this one because it's kind of it's a bittersweet situation I'm in. Being a financial and insurance advisor, that's a tough gig. It really is. And to survive a year or two trying to convince people to get their heads out of their asses and realize the importance of an advisor, man, that was painful. And trying to support a family and stay afloat. I don't come from a rich family like some advisors that get started in this business. I don't come from money. I don't come from a nice little cushion, it's going to keep me afloat until I can get my feet under me. I don't have that. I had savings that I burned through trying to make this work, and it didn't work. So back to the drawing board. Maybe you'll be back into other fields that I'm familiar with. Who knows? But it's been an interesting thing. So stay tuned. I'll let you know what I'm getting into. I'll let you know where I'm going. I'll let you know what's going on. In the meantime, I hope some of you listened to what I had to say today, and saw it for what it was meant to be. Support our older generations, and support people that frankly are having a rough go of it because the political scene changes and policies change and all this other bullshit changes. Like, really support those people who are having a big struggle of it because the world changed and didn't keep them into consideration. And if you're coming to countries, if you're giving an opportunity as a privilege, it's a privilege. Keep that in mind. Don't move to Canada, for instance, from any other place in the world and think you can fucking change it to what you're familiar with. We don't want your problems. We saved you from your problems. We gave you an opportunity. So keep that in mind. Don't start changing us into your country. We don't want that. We will push back, and there will be angry words exchanged, and you won't freaking have a leg to stand on. Just like if roles were reversed and we went to your country, you wouldn't want us changing things. Don't come and change things for us. There's a boiling point for everything. All right, that's it. I'm your host, Matt Morgan. Thanks for tuning in to Car Musings. Appreciate you being here. Love you for it. And I will see you next episode. Till then, keep your integrity in check. Bye for now.